Good morning. Well, it's afternoon. Jess would correct me very quickly. We are on Allison Summit. This is the source to the Similkameen River, right here. We'll cross the Similkameen River for the first time here shortly. I think the source of the Similkameen is up one of these valleys. I think probably that valley right there. We'll see when we cross the Similkameen River the first time. Basically, all this snow is going to melt in spring and flow down into the Similkameen, which flows down into the Okanagan River, which flows into the Great Columbia River. This is where that all starts. So we're going to follow the Similkameen River through Manning Park. Well, we're in Manning Park now. And then see how far we get. Maybe get to Princeton. Got a brake check that we have to do on the way. Oh, by the way, my finger's turning purple. And all bruised, turning really big. But look at the one there compared to the other fingers. I smashed it, tightening up a strap. Strap broke on me. And it was right by the toolbox, and I put all my weight onto that strap, and wham! Crushed my finger. It hurts. It hurts so much. Let's hammer down. Nice light little load. Lockers off.
Exit is from radio.
Turn the radio off. Turn the radio off. No copyright here. Yeah, I was gonna wait to the brake check up at Mine Hill to shoot video, but I'm like, shadows are starting to get pretty long, and there's a little bit of blue sky. Well, there's mostly blue sky, just very light clouds. It's -1 degree Celsius. There's the Similkameen River right there. Just crossed the Similkameen River. So yeah, up that valley on the left-hand side is the source to the Similkameen River. I keep tapping my finger against stuff, like the steering wheel stock. Oh, it hurts so much. Today morning I did the pre-trip at 7 a.m. and then while I was doing the pre-trip I got a phone call going, "Hey, how's it going? Stuck in traffic, or why are you running late?" I'm like, I'm not running late. I'm just doing my pre-trip. I'll actually be early to the customer. Like, paperwork that you sent me says that must deliver at AM sharp. Appointment time, don't be late. I'm like, I'm gonna be there at 7:30. He goes, "Oh, appointment's actually 7 a.m. I must have put in the wrong time when I sent it out to you." I'm like, "Okay, my bad, but I didn't know." He goes, No, don't worry about it. He goes, "That's all my fault for punching in the wrong number. I'm gonna call the customer and let them know you're on the way." And it was a non-issue. The customer had no issue with it. So started the morning delivering late. And then I had 3 pickups. If you look at the load, it doesn't look like 3 pickups, does it? It's not, it's 2. It's 2 pickups. So I got a phone call from the boss. Goes, "Are they almost done unloading you?" I'm like, "Yeah, they're just about done." He goes, "So the dispatch I sent you with the steel plates, that's not ready. So skip that one and just pick up number 2 and number 3, and I'll put those steel plates on another driver tomorrow. I'm like, okay. Come up to the first place, and I'm like, well, there's no way I'm pulling a Super B into that yard. Just parked on the road, 4-way flashers on. It's far enough to the side there. It was no parking zone, but I'm like, that's the only place I can stop. Blocked one of their 2 driveways. Walked in, and they seemed disorganized. Just stuff everywhere. Just like it looks like a place I would keep, because I'm not a very organized person. So that took a solid 2 hours to get loaded there, figure out what I was loading and all of that. And my customer is a VIP type of customer, specialized load, lots of onesies and twosies. And then it's like, okay, how do I get these in here? Put it in here, and I snapped one in half, molding, and it's like, okay, I'm gonna need another one of these because I broke this one while putting it in there. And he goes, no problem, here's another one, and that'll be $22. And I was like, okay, I guess I broke it. I'll pay the $22. I'm not just gonna give it to me. Apparently, all sales are final. Once it's out, it's done. I'm like, fine, whatever. I'll just pay for it. I'm not gonna say anything. The boss called a little later, and I'm like, so I told him. It's like, he goes, nah, I'll just put an extra money on your payday. That'll cover it. Yeah, cool, thanks. You don't have to. It was my fault, but yeah, I'll pay the extra cash for it. Cool. At least it's not coming out of my pocket anymore. And on my way to the second, I guess technically third pickup, he calls me and just goes, do you still want to pick up that load of steel? It's ready now. I was like, well, I really can't, because the steel would now go on the pup. All my heavy weight would be on the back, and the front would be light. I'm like, unless we can unload this somewhere and move it to the pup, no, I'm not going to take it, because it's not a safe, the load would not be a safe, balanced load. And he goes, okay, don't worry about it. I'll put it on a different truck driver tomorrow. I'm like, okay. At least I don't have to worry about that. So 2 pickups, 2 drops. Yeah, we picked up in Surrey and in Port Coquitlam, and we're headed to Nelson and Trail. 2 pickups, 2 drops. I'm gonna go Nelson first, because it sounds like I'm picking up in Fruitvale for tomorrow. Deliver that Kelowna or something like that, and then just go home. Be a nice little easy run tomorrow after delivering this. And next week is sounding special. Jess wasn't sure if she's coming with next week with the medication and stuff. I told her what the plan is for next week, and she goes, if that's the plan, I'm coming with. I don't care how I feel on the new medication or not. If that's the plan, I'm coming with. So we'll see if that's the plan. I'm not going to tell you guys what the plan is. But if it is what it is, we've never done it before. I've never driven on that highway with my personal vehicle or a big rig before, so possibly something new middle of next week. Might be a Tuesday and Thursday video with that new. We'll see. We'll see if it actually happens. That's the plan right now. Beautiful Similkameen River, still not frozen over. What's up with that? I mean, not really complaining, but I am sort of complaining about our very mild winter. Plus 2 degrees here now. Plus 2 degrees Celsius. Middle of winter, plus 2 degrees Celsius. Roads are really wet and messy today. Yeah, so we really need a big dumping of snow. Like, I would rather have 10 feet of snowfall the next 2 weeks than have a really smoky summer next year. Last 2 years we've been really lucky in our area. Haven't had a lot of smoke. So it's been 3 years since we've had a lot of smoke in our area, but other areas have had bad years. What a beautiful river to follow. Whenever I use the rear-facing cam, it's really neat to see the amount of mist I'm picking off of the highway. Definitely needed to tarp that load for sure. It's flooring. High-end flooring. Yeah, you know it's high-end flooring when 1 8-foot piece of molding costs $22. It's not even fancy molding, it's just plain, simple, smooth molding. So yeah. Flooring going into some millionaire's house. Probably redoing his living room or dining room. Man, I sure hope we're getting some beautiful shots of this Similkameen River with the fresh snow on there, some animal tracks, but the river itself still flowing. It does look very pretty. And yes, I know this is another Highway 3 video. But if the plans work out, next week we will have some non-Highway 33 video. Popo just did a U-turn there, and I'm like, what are you doing? Are you coming after me? I'm like, I didn't do anything illegal. There's a little pit toilet there, so I got a feeling he's pulling in there to use the pit toilet. Not a lot of snow on the trees here. It's funny, 20 minutes down the road, all of a sudden there's hardly any snow on the trees. But we're going from the summit, so we were on the windward side, now we're on the leeward side of Allison Summit. We're about to climb over Sunday Summit, but even Sunday Summit itself is on the leeward side of the mountain. That's it for 4-lane. Here's some fun corners. Oh, so remember at the beginning when this microphone and the camera, and I said I was still having some issues with synchronization. This week, Monday's video, the airport, Kelowna airport video. Man, I had some terrible synchronization video or issues with audio versus the video. I don't think I got it all right, but I got it close. And I figured out what it is. I now know what causes the audio not to synchronize with the camera. If I am wearing the microphone, which is Bluetooth connected to my camera, and I walk out of broadcast signal strength, that the microphone no longer connects to the camera and then come back in, and then when the audio reconnects to the camera, because it's reconnecting from a long distance, the audio is no longer synchronized with the video. So note to self, if I'm gonna walk away from the camera while I'm recording, take my microphone off and leave it by the camera, or take the camera with me. I'm like, I know what it is now. I figured it out. So we won't do that again. And no more echo with us last week. We solved the echo issue. I'm just waiting to hear back from you guys from last week's video, last week Tuesday's video, where we did the test of +5 decibel, 0 decibel, and -5 decibel. Waiting on you guys to report back on that, and then we'll make the final settings that we're going to use on a regular basis. Yeah, and I guess last week Monday, stereo versus non-stereo. Should be interesting feedback. And yeah, I think that's the last of our testing, and then starting next week we're going to implement whatever the results of that testing is. If you didn't catch the testing, go back to last week's Monday and Tuesday video. So I complain about this almost every single time I climb up this pass. The speed limit here is 100 kilometers per hour. Everything we've driven so far, speed limit is 100 kilometers per hour. In Manning Park, the 4-lane, that made sense that would be 100 kilometers per hour. But this here, if you're a small little sporty car, you can get up to 100 kilometers per hour between all the turns and be perfectly legal. Once we get to the top of Sunday Summit here, the speed limit reduces to 80 kilometers an hour. And you guys tell me how that makes sense. We're doing all these tight little corners here, working hard. Steep grade. This is an 8%, 9% grade. Man, just waving at other truck drivers, my hand doesn't want to straighten out. The finger hurts too much. So I'm waving with a cupped hand. I don't think tomorrow's load is tarped. Hallelujah. I'm gonna cry if I have to tarp that load. atmosphere is just right, so we're getting a couple of contrails up in the sky. Add a little depth to the sky. Although I don't miss them when they're not there. And for crying out loud, no chemtrail comments in the chat, please. I'm just going to delete them. Yes, I know chemtrails are real. If you look at the history and the military testing, yes, chemtrails are real. But that doesn't mean every contrail is a chemtrail. Conspiracies. In fact, I enjoy some conspiracies. Some of them are kind of fun to look into and go, huh, yeah, you know what? The government's lying about that, and I could see that being a plausible explanation. But then you have some people just completely fall off the deep end and go, every time they see a contrail, it's like, chemtrail, chemtrail. It's like, no, not every single one's a chemtrail. That's illogical. Jet engines, condensation, they just naturally happen. I guess unnaturally happen, because the jet's not natural, but... And same with some other conspiracies out there. I'm like, oh yeah, you know what, you make some good points, and then as you listen longer, it's like, oh, okay, we've gone off the deep end. Once it gets so illogical that we start going flat earther, it's like, dude, the education system has failed us. Unfortunately, all the crazy conspiracy theories hide the real conspiracies that are actually happening in the real world. And the real conspiracies are a lot more tame, down to earth. There's someone rich making extra money off of this. Sure, that this makes sense. Follow the money, right? Who's making money off of this? So I just delete all the crazy stuff. It's like, okay, goodbye. I don't like my chat to be full of conspiracies, full of politics. We're all welcome here. I want this to be a place that's open to everyone. And yeah, we can talk about stuff. We talk about religion or politics every now and then. I'm fine with that. As long as you're okay with me not believing what you believe, we're good. Because I'm okay with you believing other stuff that I don't believe. I'm okay with that. You can, for all I care, you can absolutely believe in flat Earth. As long as you're not trying to force everybody else to believe what you believe. Oh yeah, by the way, speed limit dropped to 80 here. This is what I was talking about. Cray cray. 80 kilometers an hour. No steep grades, no tight corners. Getting a little static of chatter going on. I guess we're getting closer to Princeton. See where the old highway used to go off to the right. Now we go through this beautiful rock cut. The highway gets boring, right? At 80 kilometers an hour, it's like, yeah, this is boring. This needs to be 100. The old highway on the left-hand side now. This section used to be curvy, just like the one we just came through, but they've made it boring, and they've made it safer. And they upped the speed limit to 100 kilometers per hour for a couple of years, at least one year. And then they dropped it back down to 80, so all the locals have gotten used to driving 100 on this section. So guess what? When you drop it back down to 80, guess what everybody's going to drive? 100. Even if they just did those short sections at 100, fine with it, but why can the other section that's curvy like crazy, and I'll never do 100 kilometers an hour on that section, why is that fine to be 100 but not this over here? I need to talk to a cop sometime. The one that just did a U-turn behind me, I should have pulled over and had a chat with them and go, hey, can we drive like 90 or 100 on here without getting a ticket? I mean, we can do 90 for sure, but can we do 100 on here without getting a ticket? What speed do you start enforcing? Because a non-enforced law, is it really a law anymore? I would argue that a non-enforced law is no longer a law. There's a lot of those old laws on the books that are not enforced that I think you should just strike from the record book. And if you decide to not strike them from the record book, in the future, some lawyer is going to find a way of using one of those old laws to let some criminal go. I have no problem with writing new laws for our modern day sensibilities, but let's get rid of the ones that are not enforced anymore. like pot smoking in BC. They got rid of that law, hallelujah. But that's no longer an offense. Because the whole province was smoking pot legally, or was smoking pot illegally before they got rid of the rule. The only reason anyone got arrested for smoking pot was because the cops are looking for a reason to a different, basically they suspected you of other crimes, and that was an easy one to arrest someone for, while they now have the right to search you for the other crimes that they're actually looking for. And I'm speeding. Just like a taillight out. No cop's gonna pull you over for a taillight out. But if you're a criminal, I would fix that taillight, because if the cop suspects you of other crime, they're gonna pull you over to fix that taillight. And then while they're doing that, that's an excuse to dig into your other stuff, right? So, but criminals are stupid. There's a reason why criminals are criminals. Down Copper 2, which means he's almost down the mountain. Only two kilometers left and he's off the mountain. To the copper mine. Copper, nickel, silver, gold, whatever else they find in there. Precious and non-precious metals. Zinc. Imagine being an operator on that mountain. All you see is dirt all day. You're just blowing dirt up, and it gets processed, and they pull out the copper and different metals. And one day you set off the dynamite and you start digging, and all you see is this big vein of gold. That's got to take some self-control not to pocket that gold. Don't know if that's ever happened, but I'm sure when you leave the facility, you have to go through some kind of check to make sure you're not bringing any kind of precious metals off of the property. Okay, I'll jump out and do a brake check and catch up right with you. Mine Hill. Famous Mine Hill. Okay. Brakes released. Load and tarp's holding on really good. Can't see a dang thing in my mirrors. Hope people have their lights on, because you know what, there's a car coming. We'll wait for the car. Thankfully they had their lights on. Another car.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, no point of having a four-wheeler behind me when you're all going to be faster than me anyway.
I appreciate it.
A little hard merging on though with a blinding sun.
That's better than this morning. You couldn't see 10 feet in front of you. I take off one bucket in my A-box, sir.
It's foggy today morning.
Oh yeah, it was like pea soup.
Nice. So that was the first pickup there that I led by. He had big antennas on top of his truck pickup, so just because they're a four-wheeler doesn't mean they don't have a VHF radio in them. I mean, I'm pretty light, so I'm fast. Sometimes I'll let people by. And then a little way down the hill, I'm catching up with them. I'm like,
That looks good.
come down Mine Hill nice and fast with a load this light. There's the tailings pond for the mine right there ahead of us. That big slope of snow. That sounds like a chip truck loading. Talking about the weight on his bridge, which is the axles on the first trailer. I'm just going to wave with one finger. Seems like it's less painful. .30-kilometer corner at the bottom of the hill. And here, the highway finally goes back up to 100 kilometers per hour. Minus 2 degrees Celsius. Really got to watch out for deer over here. Last night coming through here, I had to hit the brakes pretty hard because deer were crossing the road. Down into Princeton now. I think we'll drive through Princeton and then call it a day there. Although the Similkameen River continues from Princeton down to Headley to Karamias, all the way to the US border, and then continues south a bit further through some towns down there before it merges in with the Okanagan River. Canadians spell Okanagan with an A and the US with an O, so if you pronounced it the Canadian way, you could say Okanagan. If you pronounce it the US way, it could be the Okanogan, but halfway in between is Okanagan, so we both pronounce it Okanagan. It's not Okanagan or Okanogan, it's Okanagan. US and Canada just decided to spell it differently when they sounded it out. Sounded it out? Sounded it out. Sounded it out. Sorry, I got sidetracked there on sounded it out. Because it seemed like that was a fun word. Excuse me. I don't know where that came from. Got completely sideswiped. Drink some water. That's at 80, didn't it? I think that's at 80. I can remember the hill. We got to do 80 at the top of the hill. This used to be BC Eco Chips, but I don't think it's BC Eco Chips anymore. That yard. think it might just be Weyerhaeuser now. The log yard. I'm talking about the log yard. Doing, Mr. Pickup. Man, some of these roofs are very well insulated. And the snow is staying on top of the roof. That's a good sign.
Thanks.
$60. Yeah, I should get to the customer tonight around 8:15, 8:30 p.m. Unload at 7 a.m. at the first customer, and then I got to drive from Nelson to Trail, unload there, and then reload. So, should be a fairly low stress day tomorrow. Welcome to Princeton. I love the things that the sign lists, the things that are available here, like gas, hotels, and then it says tourist attraction, not tourist attractions, tourist attraction. There is one tourist attraction in this town. What would that be? If I had to pick one tourist attraction, I can think of two right away. Right here on the left-hand side are some silt bluffs that are super unique. And then the old bridge is really cool too. Can't take the big rig over the old bridge, or else I would. I can think of two tourist attractions. Wasn't sure what that pickup's plans were. Person walking on the road, you're on the wrong side. If I was a wide load, I'd have to stop. Go around them. I've actually honked at people before. If you're walking the wrong way on the road and I got a wide load, it's like honk honk. Basically, take a look over me, look at me, and make sure you don't move any closer. I don't feel like decapitating anyone. There we go. We crossed the Similkameen River, and now it flows on the left-hand side instead of the right-hand side. And that was Princeton. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I guess that's a fairly long video. I didn't even realize how long of a video that was going to be. Okay. -1 degree Celsius. I am out of here. Really, really appreciate all your support. Thank you to the members. Thank you guys so much. Really, really appreciate it. I just looked at our finances. I know the video's long already, but I looked at the finances. We're at about $1,300 of in the red. I've spent $1,300 more than you guys have paid off with a new camera and microphone, but a couple of more weeks we'll be under the 1,000 mark, right? So awesome sauce. So thank you for those super chats. Thank you for those subscriptions, the memberships. If it's $1 a month or $5 a month or $25 a month, thank you. Appreciate all the support I can get. We will eventually stop losing money on this channel. Now, you know, once we pay it off, I'll think of something new to buy, right? Because we love the new camera. Anyhow, I am out of here. You guys absolutely rock.